In a world obsessed with showing off, announcing every move, and seeking instant validation, the true path to success is often overlooked. The loudest voices rarely achieve the most. Real winners are those who work relentlessly in silence, letting results do the talking. Every breakthrough, every milestone, and every achievement starts far from the spotlight, in the quiet hours of focus, discipline, and persistence. This video reveals how to harness the power of private effort, strategic silence, and unwavering focus to build unstoppable momentum, so when success arrives, it speaks louder than words ever could. Number 1. Build success quietly through disciplined consistency. A quiet room, a single lamp, and the steady click of keys become the most honest measures of progress. Success that lasts is not a bright announcement. It is a slow accumulation of tiny decisions made when no one is watching. This chapter examines why disciplined consistency produces results that outlast loud gestures, and how choosing silence as a strategy preserves energy, sharpens focus, and builds a life that proves itself through outcomes rather than explanations. Consistency begins with small agreements kept every day. Promise less to others and more to yourself. The promise may be as simple as showing up for 30 minutes of focused work before checking messages, or as disciplined as a morning sequence that primes the mind for sustained effort. Cold water on the face, 2 deep breaths, a short list of 3 non-negotiable tasks. The sensory reality of these rituals matters. The cold water wakes the skin. The breath steadies the chest. The act of crossing items off a paper list produces a tiny, chemical reward that reinforces habit. Repeat these small actions until they become the background of your life. When routines run the show, willpower need not. Silence is not avoidance. It is protection. Every public announcement about a plan creates a currency of expectation that drains focus. Speaking about a project before it exists shapes the speaker into someone who has already collected the social credit of effort, and the work that follows often feels less urgent. Protect goals by crafting a private cycle of creation and adopt a rule of measured sharing. Complete a milestone, test it, then show proof through results. The creative mind thrives in spaces free from premature judgment. Practice saying fewer things about work and more about craft. The fewer explanations offered, the less mental energy spent defending choices and the more attention available for doing the work itself. Systems beat goals. Goals provide direction. Systems provide the machinery. A goal reads like a destination. Publish a book. Reach a revenue target. Run a marathon. A system asks, what repeatable behavior moves me toward that destination? Replace big, brittle goals with clear, repeatable systems. If the aim is writing a book, a system might be, write 500 words every weekday morning and revise 200 words weekly. If the aim is fitness, a SIF could be 30 minutes of targeted exercise, 5 days a week, and a weekly progress photo. Concrete, measurable systems convert abstract desire into daily actions. Build an accountability method that does not rely on public praise, a private log, a weekly metric snapshot, or a trusted peer who receives a single progress email every 7 days. The purpose is not performance theater. It is predictable movement. Compound interest applies to habits. 5% improvement every day becomes a dramatic difference over months. That improvement rarely feels glamorous. It looks like the extra page written after dinner, the additional half-mile run, the second read of a draft before assuming it is finished. Use simple arithmetic to align behavior with outcomes. If a task takes 20 minutes today and becomes routine, tomorrow it will take 18, and in a month it will feel effortless. Keep an eye on small wins and record them. A short, honest log that states what was completed, what was hard, and what improved provides a map of progress that prevents discouragement. When public validation is scarce, this private ledger becomes the proof of continued effort. Design environments that enforce discipline. The brain responds to cues. Place work tools in plain sight and distractions out of reach. A specific chair only used for focused work. A browser that opens to a blank document rather than social feeds. A phone put in another room during deep sessions. These are not sacrifices, they are investments in attention. Time blocking amplifies this design. Reserve 2 uninterrupted blocks, one for the most demanding task and another for reinforcement, and maintenance tasks. During the demanding block, eliminate notifications, close unrelated tabs, and set a timer. There will be discomfort at first. Discomfort is the raw material of improvement. Over time, the body and mind learn to enter focus quickly, like a practiced musician tuning before a performance. Silence sharpens confidence. The louder the self-promotion, the more fragile the foundation often is. Confidence built on competence endures because it is rooted in doing rather than describing. Practice reporting to reality rather than narrating intention. A daily habit. Choose one work item to complete that day and refrain from discussing it until it is done. The satisfaction of completion carries more gravitas than the ritual of announcing plans. When the work is visible, others will notice. Visible results are the quiet currency of influence. Create templates for how and when to share progress publicly. Public announcements become most effective when they are rare and backed by substance. Announce a product when it is functional, not when it is an idea. Share a milestone with data, a story of the struggle, and a clear demonstration of impact. The contrast between frequent, empty updates and infrequent, meaningful reveals increases credibility. This approach also reduces the psychological toll of social comparison. Fewer updates mean less noise to drown out one's internal rhythm. Adopt a daily review practice that balances discipline with compassion. Each evening, spend 5 minutes noting 3 things done well, 1 thing to improve tomorrow, and 1 small action to take first thing in the morning. This routine trains attention toward progress and away from perfection. The 3 good items practice rewires the brain to notice momentum rather than scarcity. Improvement becomes a series of manageable adjustments rather than a moral indictment about shortcomings. Create a private accountability scaffolding. Public accountability can be useful, but private accountability is purer. Choose a mentor, coach, or peer, and structure accountability around short, specific reports: what was accomplished, what blocked progress, and what the next measurable step will be. Email once a week with a 2-paragraph update. The brevity matters. Long explanations invite excuses. Concise reports invite solutions. The act of preparing a short update clarifies thinking and often reveals patterns that were previously invisible. Embrace boredom as an ally. High performers report that the work often enters a steady, repetitive zone where external excitement is minimal. That zone is where refinement happens. Boredom is the edge where small improvements accumulate into mastery. Train the mind to sit with routine tasks. Use a simple mantra when distraction surfaces. Focus on the immediate next perfect action. Replace novelty chasing with deep attention to the detail at hand. Over time, the details compound into rare outcomes. Measure what matters. Avoid vanity metrics that flatter but do not move the needle. If the intent is to build a product, measure retention, usage, and referrals. If the aim is personal health, measure sleep quality, strength gains, or consistency in nutrition. 3 metrics, tracked each week, reveal trends without overwhelming. Use a simple spreadsheet or an app. The mechanism is secondary to the discipline of measurement. Honest data replaces wishful thinking and keeps the work tethered to reality. Finally, celebrate without noise. When a milestone is reached, first sale, first completed draft, first personal best, acknowledge the achievement privately and mark it with a meaningful ritual. A quiet dinner, a walk in a favorite park, a page added to a physical journal. The celebration should honor the effort without inflating ego. Rewards reinforce habits. Rituals transform achievements into anchors for future consistency. Begin tonight with 1 small commitment. Choose 1 system task that can be completed tomorrow morning and prepare for it now. Set out a notebook, set the timer, silence the phone. The power of disciplined consistency is not mystical. It is a consequence of repeated, focused acts performed when the audience is absent. Speak less about work, design environments that favor attention, measure what matters, and use silence as a protective strategy. Over weeks and months, the quiet accumulation of disciplined practice will produce results that speak louder than any explanation. The world rewards steady creators. The public will respect finished things far more than promise. Number 2, protect goals with intentional, focused silence. Silence is more than the absence of sound. It is a deliberate tool, a shield that preserves energy and protects the delicate process of creation. Every goal carries vulnerability. When shared too early or too often, ideas are diluted, and focus splinters under the weight of expectation and outside opinion. Protecting goals with intentional focused silence is not about secrecy for its own sake. It is about directing attention and mental energy toward execution rather than explanation. This principle separates those who accomplish from those who only talk about ambition. Goals are fragile when exposed. Each time a plan is broadcasted prematurely, the mind receives a false reward. Compliments, interest, or validations simulate progress, tricking the brain into feeling satisfied without completing the work. To counter this, cultivate a private ecosystem for your objectives. Write down your goals in a notebook or digital document that no one else sees. Break each goal into smaller, actionable tasks that are scheduled and measured privately. Protecting them begins with recognizing that each interaction about your work is a potential distraction. Social energy once spent cannot be reclaimed. Intentional silence also builds resilience. When a goal is shared, criticism or doubt from others can seep into the mind. Even well-meaning feedback can introduce hesitation. Choosing silence allows the internal process to mature without interruption. Each day, resist the urge to explain, justify, or update anyone about your progress. Instead, create mental checkpoints. Finish one key task fully before allowing external attention. By conditioning yourself to stay quiet, you strengthen focus, and your inner conviction grows independent of outside approval. Protecting goals requires mastering attention. The mind is easily scattered by casual conversation or unsolicited advice. Guarding your ambitions means carefully selecting where and how your energy is spent. One method is creating a physical or digital goal sanctuary. This could be a workspace free from notifications, a scheduled block of time where phones are silent, or even a private journal where every thought related to the goal is captured. These intentional spaces are sacred. No one enters without purpose. The clearer the boundary, the sharper your concentration. Every goal thrives on consistency, but consistency thrives on privacy. Consider a writer who shares drafts with dozens of people before completion. Each opinion, suggestion, or critique can pull the author off course. Now imagine the same writer works in focused isolation, crafting each page, refining every paragraph, and only sharing when a cohesive story is ready. The difference is exponential. Silence allows for uninterrupted refinement, experimentation, and iteration. Mistakes are corrected without embarrassment. Ideas evolve naturally, and the final work emerges polished and powerful. Protecting goals also reduces external pressure. Publicizing intentions often generates expectations from others, consciously or unconsciously. Friends, family, or colleagues may anticipate results within a certain timeline. These expectations can distort priorities, create anxiety, or force premature decisions. Silence liberates the creator from these invisible constraints. By keeping goals private, the pace of work is dictated by the demands of the task, not the demands of an audience. This is freedom disguised as restraint, and it cultivates an inner discipline that becomes unshakable over time. Intentional silence sharpens clarity. Without constant discussion, the mind begins to identify what truly matters. Repeatedly speaking about goals, fragments attention, and clouds judgment. Silence encourages reflection, careful planning, and the ability to anticipate challenges without external noise. A goal kept private becomes a mental laboratory. Risks, strategies, and contingencies are tested internally first. The quiet allows intuition to emerge. With practice, decisions are made swiftly, with fewer errors, because the mind is not reacting to social pressure, but responding to strategic insight. This approach also teaches patience. Goals protected by silence are rarely achieved overnight. The public often rewards immediacy, visibility, and spectacle. The private mind understands that mastery and meaningful outcomes demand incremental, deliberate effort. Each unobserved step is a layer of preparation that compounds over time. Patience becomes a habit, embedded in daily practice, and the eventual results carry weight precisely because they are unexpected and undeniable. The environment of silence amplifies mental energy. Every conversation requires cognitive resources: listening, interpreting, responding. Each explanation of your goals drains attention from the work itself. Choosing to remain silent redirects this energy toward creation, learning, and refining skill. The brain becomes a factory, not a performance stage. Discipline grows when energy is preserved for high-value tasks. The invisible investment in preparation multiplies when finally revealed through results, making public recognition more known and deserved. Intentional silence strengthens self-reliance. When the world does not witness your efforts, you learn to trust your judgment, measure progress against your standards, and find satisfaction internally. Self-reliance is critical in moments of challenge. Obstacles inevitably arise, and without the support or acknowledgement of others, resilience must come from within. Silence cultivates this resilience by requiring you to solve problems independently, anticipate setbacks, and adapt with clarity and calm. The final reward of this practice is amplified impact. A goal that is nurtured privately, executed with focus, and revealed with substance carries credibility. Visibility is earned, not demanded. People are drawn to those whose results speak louder than words. Achievements become compelling not because they were boasted about, but because they are tangible, undeniable, and executed with skill. The contrast between quiet labor and visible outcome is striking. It commands respect, inspires imitation, and solidifies influence. Daily practice of intentional silence can begin immediately. Start by identifying one current goal or project. Restrict updates to yourself only. Remove public posts, casual mentions, and offhand remarks. Create a private plan with concrete tasks. Assign deadlines for completion, and track progress internally. Resist the urge to seek validation for each small win. Each completed task is a silent victory, a step toward mastery that is invisible until fully realized. Silence does not equate to isolation. Seek counsel when genuinely necessary, but always frame conversations with intention. Consult mentors or trusted peers who can provide insight without demanding continuous updates. Ask precise questions, receive guidance, then return to private work. This method ensures that advice is used efficiently, energy is conserved, and the majority of progress remains self-directed. Intentional, focused silence is a form of self-mastery. It is the discipline to resist immediate recognition, to safeguard creative energy, and to act with purpose rather than reaction. Each day that goals are shielded from unnecessary exposure, concentration sharpens, resilience grows, and strategic thinking deepens. Over time, the private work accumulates quietly, but the results resonate loudly. The mind learns to trust its internal compass, energy is protected for execution, and accomplishments eventually emerge with undeniable power. The practice also develops humility. Silent work teaches that effort itself is valuable, that external applause is secondary, and that true accomplishment is not measured by attention received, but by the transformation achieved. Humility becomes a companion to resilience, patience, and skill, creating a character that performs consistently, regardless of audience presence. Start now by identifying one objective and committing to a week of focused, unshared effort. Observe the mental clarity that emerges, the energy preserved, and the precision gained. Extend this practice over months, then years, and the compounding effect is extraordinary. What is built in silence carries permanence, influence, and depth. By protecting goals with intentional, focused silence, the creator becomes invincible, unshakable, and undeniable in the public eye when the work finally speaks for itself. The discipline of silence is the silent engine of progress. Every private decision, every hidden effort, and every moment spent without explanation is an investment in long-term impact. Others may chase recognition and attention, but those who embrace focused quiet cultivate mastery that is immune to distraction, resilient to criticism, and ultimately rewarded by results that cannot be ignored. This is the power of protecting goals with intentional, focused silence. It transforms vulnerability into strength, distraction into concentration, and aspiration into achievement. In silence, the mind grows sharper, the work grows stronger, and success arrives quietly, profoundly, and irrevocably. Number 3. Let visible results speak your story. Actions are louder than words. The most persuasive proof of ability and character is not what is said, but what is visible for the world to witness. Results carry a weight that explanations cannot match. They bypass skepticism, cut through doubt, and establish credibility without needing justification. Letting visible results tell your story is an exercise in discipline, patience, and strategic execution. It is about creating outcomes so compelling that they speak on your behalf, leaving observers with no choice but to recognize your effort, skill, and dedication. The first step is understanding the difference between talking about work and producing it. Conversations about intentions create an illusion of progress. A person can describe an idea in precise detail, but until there is evidence of its execution, the narrative remains hypothetical. Visible results eliminate ambiguity. Whether it is a product completed, a skill mastered, or a goal achieved, tangible evidence communicates competence more powerfully than any explanation. This principle works across every domain of life. A well-designed portfolio, a completed project, a measurable improvement in fitness, or a published article all function as self-explanatory proof of commitment and capability. Focusing on results requires setting measurable, observable milestones. Instead of vague goals such as "I want to succeed," specify outcomes that can be clearly demonstrated. These benchmarks serve as internal motivators and external communicators. The clarity of observable progress allows the mind to track accomplishment objectively. For instance, completing a course, launching a small initiative, or generating a quantifiable performance improvement provides proof of work. Each completed milestone reinforces confidence and shifts attention from speculation to evidence. Visible results transform effort into credibility and reinforce the habit of disciplined execution. Consistency in producing results is critical. Small, repeated successes compound into an undeniable narrative. One achievement may be overlooked, but the accumulation of consistent, high-quality outcomes builds an unassailable reputation. The emphasis is on reliability rather than spectacle. A person who consistently delivers results demonstrates competence without needing to explain, justify, or defend. Observers begin to anticipate outcomes, trust performance, and respect capability. The weight of credibility grows silently but steadily as results stack over time. To create visible results, prioritize work that generates impact. Not all activity produces meaningful outcomes. Distinguish between tasks that are performative and those that are productive. Time spent on low-value actions may feel active, but they rarely translate into recognizable accomplishments. Evaluate every effort for its potential to create evidence of skill, progress, or growth. Energy directed toward high-leverage tasks produces results that are undeniable. Focused execution amplifies the voice of action, allowing visible outcomes to convey what words never could. The environment plays a key role in making results visible. Designing systems that allow measurable output to emerge naturally helps create proof without self-promotion. Maintain records of completed work, track progress, and ensure outcomes are observable to yourself and eventually to relevant audiences. These tangible records are not meant for constant broadcasting, but for allowing evidence to speak when the time is right. A consistent archive of accomplishments forms a narrative that demonstrates ability, persistence, and mastery over time. Patience is required to let results speak. Immediate recognition is rare, and the temptation to explain or justify often arises when outcomes are not instantly visible. Silence in these moments preserves focus. Work continues in the background, while observers may speculate. The delay between effort and visible success allows refinement, testing, and iteration, ensuring that what is eventually revealed is robust, polished, and compelling. By withholding premature commentary, the eventual results resonate more powerfully and authentically. Visible results also reduce the risk of criticism, undermining motivation. Publicly explaining intentions invites scrutiny, often before sufficient progress is made. Premature discussion can distort perception, create pressure, and weaken resolve. Allowing tangible outcomes to emerge first ensures that judgment is grounded in evidence rather than speculation. Those who observe the results will evaluate based on accomplishment rather than conjecture. This approach protects confidence, fosters resilience, and reinforces a mindset that prioritizes substance over performance theater. Measurable progress creates internal accountability. When results are tracked objectively, the mind becomes attuned to standards of quality, completion, and improvement. A clear metric for success directs effort, identifies weaknesses, and highlights areas for growth. Each tangible result serves as both reward and feedback, creating a self-reinforcing loop of productivity. This method strengthens the habit of action over narrative and encourages refinement of skills, systems, and strategies until excellence emerges naturally. Storytelling through results also amplifies influence. People are inspired by evidence. Colleagues, mentors, and observers are more likely to respect skill that is visible rather than promised. Results carry credibility because they are verifiable, independent of rhetoric, and resistant to manipulation. The narrative of competence, reliability, and impact emerges organically, driven by what has been done rather than what is claimed. Each achievement functions as a chapter in an ongoing story that others cannot dispute. Avoid comparing visible results to the progress of others. Focus remains on personal execution, not external benchmarks. Comparing incomplete knowledge or partial efforts can erode confidence. Instead, let each outcome define personal growth, measured against prior performance, rather than external expectation. Visible results are a reflection of your journey and progress, not a competitive contest. This perspective strengthens self-trust and internal motivation, reinforcing the discipline to continue producing meaningful outcomes without distraction. Systems and habits underpin results. Set routines, establish checklists, and design workflows that naturally yield measurable output. The structure allows effort to translate into evidence consistently. For example, if the aim is skill acquisition, a deliberate practice schedule ensures observable improvement over time. If the goal is productivity, a clear workflow ensures deliverables accumulate predictably. Structure bridges intention and outcome, making results inevitable rather than sporadic. Habits, once established, reduce reliance on motivation and amplify the volume of visible achievements. Resist the temptation to frame results through explanation. Let the outcomes alone communicate skill, persistence, and mastery. Public praise or narrative is often unnecessary and can dilute impact. A well-executed project, a quantifiable improvement, or a finished work speaks independently. Let observers interpret the significance themselves. This approach enhances authenticity, reinforces personal credibility, and establishes an aura of competence that does not rely on self-promotion. Reflection enhances the power of visible results. Regularly review completed work to identify patterns of success, areas for improvement, and lessons learned. Reflection ensures that each result contributes to skill development, system refinement, and future achievement. Visible outcomes then serve dual purposes: evidence of past accomplishment and guideposts for continuous growth. Observers witness not just the result, but the trajectory of skill and discipline over time. Creating visible results also reinforces the habit of patience. Impactful outcomes rarely manifest immediately. The tension between effort and recognition trains the mind to value process over applause. The work itself becomes the reward, while the eventual public evidence provides validation that is deserved, not assumed. Long-term discipline, maintained without the need for constant external acknowledgement, strengthens resilience and develops the character of a high achiever. Begin by identifying one project or goal where results can be tracked. Define the observable outcomes that will demonstrate progress. Execute daily, maintain records, refine processes, and resist the urge to broadcast partial success. Over time, a portfolio of visible results will accumulate, telling a compelling story of capability, discipline, and achievement. Each completed milestone becomes a testament to the power of action over words. Results provide clarity to both self and others. They offer undeniable proof of what is possible when intention is paired with execution. By allowing work to speak, energy is preserved for creation, credibility is earned without effortful persuasion, and influence is amplified through the evidence of achievement. Let visible results tell your story. They remove doubt, convey skill, and cultivate respect. When effort is converted into observable outcomes, words become secondary, validation becomes inherent, and the journey transforms into a narrative of undeniable impact. The quiet, persistent accumulation of results creates a life of authority, respect, and accomplishment. Each achievement is a testament to deliberate action, disciplined execution, and the profound truth that what is done quietly often resonates the loud. Number 4. Replace explanations with strategic daily action. Every moment spent explaining intentions is a moment stolen from execution. Words are fleeting, but actions accumulate. Strategic daily action becomes the engine of progress, turning ideas into reality and ambitions into measurable accomplishments. Replacing explanations with consistent, intentional effort cultivates credibility, mastery, and momentum. It is not enough to describe a goal or discuss a plan. The transformation occurs in the disciplined repetition of purposeful acts that build toward that goal. Each action, no matter how small, contributes to a body of work that speaks louder than any narrative. The first principle is clarity of purpose. Every action should serve a defined outcome. Vague activity generates noise but produces little substance. Begin by identifying the 1 or 2 outcomes that matter most for the day. For example, a writer might commit to drafting 1,000 words, a developer to coding a specific feature, or a fitness enthusiast to completing a targeted workout routine. Daily focus ensures that energy is allocated to high-impact tasks, not scattered across trivial matters. Planning is critical. Strategic daily action is deliberate, not reactive. Map out the day with clear priorities and concrete steps. Each morning, define the top 3 actions that will move you closest to your objective. Sequence them in order of significance and difficulty. Tackling the hardest or most critical task first, often called eating the frog, creates momentum and a psychological sense of accomplishment that propels the remainder of the day. By acting with intention, the need for explanations diminishes because progress becomes self-evident. Habits serve as the framework for consistent action. Establish routines that naturally produce results without requiring constant decision-making. For instance, a professional might reserve the first 2 hours of the workday for undisturbed focus, or an athlete might follow a morning ritual of training, stretching, and nutrition. The brain thrives on predictability. Routines automate excellence. When actions become habitual, daily output is less dependent on motivation, and accomplishments accumulate quietly, but inexorably. Every action should be measurable. Without benchmarks, effort is difficult to evaluate and easy to misinterpret. Create systems to track progress, whether through digital tools, journals, or visual boards. The act of measurement reinforces discipline and transforms intangible effort into observable results. By documenting achievements, even small ones, the mind builds a sense of accountability to oneself, eliminating the urge to explain or justify in the absence of external validation. Prioritize deep work. Shallow tasks, meetings, or idle discussion consume energy and create the illusion of productivity. Focused, uninterrupted action generates the most meaningful outcomes. Protect your time by designing work blocks free from distractions. Silence notifications, close irrelevant tabs, and create a workspace that signals focus. The quality of effort in these moments far surpasses the quantity of conversation about effort. Deep work ensures that every action has significance, diminishing the need for external validation or explanation. Patience and persistence are essential. Strategic action often requires repetition and refinement. Progress may not be immediately visible, and results may take time to manifest. By committing to daily, focused effort, small improvements compound into substantial achievements. Each day builds on the previous one, creating a momentum that becomes undeniable over weeks and months. The cumulative effect of consistent action far outweighs occasional bursts of explanation or self-promotion. Action replaces doubt with clarity. Explaining intentions invites skepticism, second-guessing, and debate. Execution, on the other hand, demonstrates capability. When work is visible, it communicates competence without argument. Each completed task, polished product, or measurable improvement becomes a silent testimony to skill and discipline. Observers recognize the truth of results more readily than the promise of effort. Strategic daily action converts aspiration into evidence, eliminating the need for elaborate justification. Focus on high-leverage activities. Not all actions are equal in impact. Identify the tasks that directly contribute to meaningful outcomes and prioritize them above minor or performative work. Every day, ask which actions will have the greatest influence on your goals. Execute these deliberately, ensuring that effort produces maximum effect. By concentrating on high-impact activities, you avoid the trap of busyness that feels productive but produces little. The results will speak for themselves, replacing the need for narrative. Intentionality amplifies efficiency. Each action should be purposeful and aligned with a larger objective. Random effort may burn energy without producing value. Strategic daily action is about aligning effort with outcome. Before starting any task, ask why it matters, how it advances your goal, and what the measurable result will be. This kind of disciplined scrutiny eliminates wasted effort, increases productivity, and ensures that progress is tangible rather than performative. Develop resilience through visible action. Challenges, failures, and setbacks are inevitable. Explaining plans cannot prevent obstacles, but persistent, thoughtful action builds capacity to overcome them. Treat each challenge as an opportunity to refine approach and enhance skill. Daily action creates a foundation of competence and confidence, allowing resilience to grow naturally. The act of doing transforms uncertainty into capability, proving to yourself, more than anyone else, that progress is possible despite adversity. Time blocking reinforces accountability. Divide the day into focused intervals dedicated to specific objectives. Avoid multitasking, which fragments attention and diminishes effectiveness. Allocate clear periods for strategic work, reflection, and review. The discipline of structured action reduces the desire to justify effort to others because tangible output accumulates consistently. When time is respected and utilized deliberately, results become the default narrative. Reflection enhances strategic action. Each evening, review what was accomplished, identify inefficiencies, and plan improvements for the next day. Reflection transforms raw effort into refined skill, ensuring that each day contributes more than the sum of its parts. By evaluating performance privately, you create a feedback loop that accelerates growth without relying on external commentary. Reflection paired with action compounds learning and establishes a clear trajectory toward mastery. Focus on progress, not perception. Many are consumed by how they appear rather than what they achieve. Strategic daily action flips this dynamic. Results, not rhetoric, define reputation. When work is consistent, deliberate, and visible in tangible outcomes, perception aligns naturally with reality. Authentic credibility emerges, rooted in accomplishment rather than self-promotion. People notice competence when it is demonstrated repeatedly, quietly, and reliably. Eliminate distraction by curating your environment. Physical and digital spaces shape behavior. Remove items that encourage interruption, conversation about work, or comparison with others. Surround yourself with tools, references, and conditions that facilitate action. Strategic action is easier when the environment reinforces focus and minimizes energy spent on unnecessary explanations or social validation. The space itself becomes a silent partner in producing small wins compound into narrative. Each action completed is a building block in a larger story. When consistently executed, these blocks create an unmistakable pattern of competence and achievement. People begin to notice outcomes before explanation. Over time, the accumulation of discrete actions forms a body of work that communicates skill, discipline, and reliability far more powerfully than words ever could. Celebrate privately and internally. Recognition is less about external applause and more about reinforcing habits and motivation. Acknowledging effort in quiet ways, journaling, reflection, or small personal rewards strengthens the link between action and satisfaction. This internal feedback loop maintains momentum and encourages persistence, eliminating the temptation to over-explain or seek validation for incremental steps. Strategic daily action also cultivates patience. Long-term results emerge from repeated effort, often invisible until a threshold of mastery or completion is reached. Discipline is reinforced when immediate acknowledgement is not the primary motivator. The mind learns to value process over recognition, and achievements accumulate into a portfolio of credibility that speaks louder than any declaration. Begin today by identifying one high-impact task. Commit to executing it with focus, measuring completion, and avoiding explanation or justification to others. Repeat this practice daily, increasing complexity, scope, and ambition gradually. Over weeks and months, the habit of strategic action replaces the need for narrative. Work speaks for itself, momentum grows, and credibility is earned through consistent results rather than promise. Replacing explanations with strategic daily action transforms ambition into accomplishment, ideas into outcomes, and effort into credibility. Words may open doors, but results sustain them. The rhythm of disciplined, purposeful action builds authority, demonstrates skill, and cultivates trust organically. Over time, a life defined by deliberate work becomes a story told not through announcements, but through undeniable achievement, leaving no need for explanations because the results themselves narrate the journey. Number 5. Train your mind to ignore validation. The human mind is wired for approval. From childhood, recognition, praise, and validation shape perception of worth and guide behavior. Yet, leaning on external approval is a trap that limits growth, compromises focus, and dilutes potential. True progress emerges when the mind learns to ignore validation, to act regardless of applause, and to anchor self-worth in discipline, competence, and results rather than in the fleeting opinions of others. Training the mind to disregard external recognition is not a denial of social connection. It is a strategy for mental clarity, resilience, and independence. Validation is seductive because it offers immediate feedback and emotional reward. A like, a compliment, or a nod of approval delivers a short-lived chemical satisfaction, a hit of dopamine that makes the brain feel accomplished without real progress. Every time one seeks external validation, energy is diverted from actual work to performance for others. To break this pattern, practice redirecting focus from response to effort. Instead of wondering whether actions will be applauded, concentrate entirely on the quality and execution of the task. Skill, mastery, and persistence become the primary metrics of success. Begin by observing moments when approval is sought. Notice the subtle tension in the chest when anticipating reaction, or the compulsive urge to explain choices. Awareness is the first step in detachment. Each time the mind craves external acknowledgement, pause and ask, is this action dependent on someone else's perception, or does it hold intrinsic value? This simple question reorients energy towards self-directed purpose, rather than social reinforcement. Repetition of this practice gradually rewires thought patterns, reducing reliance on transient validation. Set internal standards for performance. When the mind measures itself by internal benchmarks, external opinions lose power. Define clear criteria for success and improvement: speed, precision, consistency, creativity, or depth. Each completed task is evaluated against these metrics rather than applause. The internal ledger of accomplishment becomes the reference point for progress. Over time, the brain associates satisfaction with measurable growth rather than approval, freeing energy to pursue mastery rather than recognition. Silence is a key ally in this process. Sharing intentions or achievements prematurely invites feedback, judgment, or praise, all of which train the mind to crave validation. Practice completing work without commentary or announcement. The act itself becomes sufficient reward. By withholding updates, the mind develops resilience and independence, recognizing effort as valuable regardless of external attention. Visible results will naturally communicate competence when appropriate, but the mind no longer relies on others' opinions for motivation. Discomfort is part of the journey. The mind initially rebels when it is not constantly reassured or recognized. Moments of doubt, impatience, or insecurity are natural. Embrace them as opportunities for strengthening self-trust. Silence, isolation from praise, and focusing on intrinsic standards are uncomfortable precisely because they break ingrained patterns. Persisting through this discomfort gradually fortifies mental resilience making the mind less reactive to social signals and more attuned to disciplined action. Reframe criticism as information, not judgment. Ignoring validation does not mean ignoring feedback. Constructive critique is a tool for improvement, not an emotional dependency. Differentiate between commentary that enhances skill and commentary that merely seeks to influence emotion. Use feedback selectively, filtering through the lens of internal standards. This disciplined approach allows learning while maintaining detachment from the need for approval. The mind becomes an observer, using data instead of applause to guide decisions. Develop routines that reinforce independence from social feedback. Journaling progress, tracking metrics privately, or setting silent goals creates a framework where validation is irrelevant. For example, measure improvement in skill, speed, or output without telling anyone. Review progress internally, noting areas of growth and opportunities for refinement. When the brain becomes accustomed to receiving its own acknowledgement, external opinions lose their control. Satisfaction is derived from effort and measurable growth, creating a self-sustaining loop of motivation. Comparison is another trap to avoid. Observing peers, colleagues, or competitors often triggers the need for validation, consciously or unconsciously. The mind begins to measure worth against others' attention or acclaim. Instead, focus on personal benchmarks and incremental progress. Track your trajectory privately, celebrate consistent improvement, and let growth speak through competence and results. Comparison only reinforces the craving for validation. Internal standards render it irrelevant. Visualization supports this training. Picture long-term outcomes of success that do not rely on recognition. Envision mastery, competence, and fulfillment rooted in skill and discipline rather than applause. By internalizing these images, the brain aligns effort with intrinsic rewards, reinforcing the mindset that external validation is peripheral, not central to achievement. Over time, this practice strengthens the neural pathways that prioritize action over affirmation. Selective communication enhances focus. When interaction is necessary, be mindful of intent. Speak to convey essential information, solve problems, or collaborate, not to elicit approval. Observing restraint in dialogue prevents reinforcing patterns of dependence on social reward. Each interaction becomes purposeful, reinforcing autonomy and reinforcing a mindset that values accomplishment over praise. Patience compounds results. Learning to ignore validation is not instantaneous. The mind must unlearn decades of conditioning. Start small by choosing one activity where external approval has historically influenced behavior. Commit to performing it without sharing progress or seeking recognition. Gradually expand this practice to more areas of life. The repeated experience of satisfaction derived from action itself strengthens independence, resilience, and self-trust. Mindfulness amplifies effectiveness. Observe emotional responses to praise, criticism, or lack of recognition without judgment. Recognize the temporary nature of these reactions and redirect focus to effort and process. By acknowledging emotions without attachment, the mind becomes immune to dependency on validation. Action is measured, controlled, and independent of transient social reward. Resist social media and public comparison. Platforms designed to reward visibility and acknowledgement amplify dependence on validation. Temporarily limiting exposure allows mental energy to flow toward creation and skill development rather than performance. Use these platforms intentionally, not reflexively. This discipline cultivates focus and reinforces the internal reward system. Accountability can be private rather than public. Instead of seeking validation, create self-directed metrics, milestones, and routines. A journal, spreadsheet, or private log becomes the source of reinforcement. These systems provide clarity, direction, and measurable progress, all without relying on applause. The mind learns that competence and improvement are sufficient reward. Gratitude shifts attention inward. Appreciating your own growth, effort, and persistence strengthens internal validation. Reflect on completed tasks, learned lessons, and resilience developed through adversity. Gratitude anchors satisfaction in personal effort rather than social recognition. Over time, the mind associates fulfillment with action and growth, rather than external reaction. Develop mental toughness through repetition. Regularly practice acts without announcement, completion without applause, and progress without commentary. Each repetition strengthens the ability to focus on meaningful outcomes independently of social response. Over months, this consistent pattern rewires the brain to prioritize discipline, skill, and results over transient external validation. Ultimately, training the mind to ignore validation creates freedom. It liberates attention, energy, and intention from the pull of others' approval. Life becomes directed by purpose, mastery, and integrity. Every action is chosen for its intrinsic value and impact, not for recognition. The mind becomes an instrument of deliberate effort, resilient in the face of praise or criticism, and capable of sustaining focus on long-term objectives. Begin by selecting one domain where approval has historically shaped behavior. Commit to daily effort, track progress privately, and resist seeking acknowledgement. Gradually expand to more areas. Celebrate internally, refine through self-observation, and cultivate resilience. Over time, the mind will naturally prioritize mastery, discipline, and results over applause, creating a foundation for achievement that is unshakable, self-reliant, and profoundly effective. Ignoring validation is not a withdrawal from society. It is a deliberate strategy to preserve mental energy, focus, and integrity. It allows work to flourish, skill to deepen, and outcomes to accumulate naturally. When success eventually manifests, it does so as proof of capability, not as a product of social reinforcement. A mind trained to disregard validation becomes unstoppable, capable of producing extraordinary results without reliance on fleeting approval. This discipline transforms life. Effort, resilience, and mastery become self-reinforcing. Each day spent prioritizing action over recognition strengthens focus, independence, and self-trust. The world may applaud, critique, or remain silent, but the trained mind remains unwavering, powered by intrinsic standards, fortified by daily progress, and guided by competence rather than expectation. True strength emerges in the quiet space between action and recognition, where validation is unnecessary because excellence is visible, enduring, and undeniable. Number 6. Strengthen confidence by mastering private routines. Confidence is not born from applause or attention. It grows quietly in the spaces where effort meets discipline. True self-assurance comes from mastery over oneself, cultivated through private routines that structure, strengthen, and sustain the mind and body. When daily habits are intentionally designed and consistently followed, the results are internalized competence, resilience, and poise that do not require validation. Private routines are the silent scaffolding on which confidence is built. They create a foundation of preparation and readiness that becomes visible in every action without the need for explanation or display. The first step in mastering private routines is to identify the domains of life where consistent effort produces the greatest impact. Physical health, mental clarity, skill development, and focused work are all areas where deliberate repetition strengthens confidence. Begin with a single routine, perhaps a morning ritual that primes the mind, a dedicated skill practice, or an exercise regimen that challenges the body. By committing to one routine fully before layering additional habits, the mind learns to associate discipline with self-reliance and capability. Consistency is the key to trust in oneself. Each day a routine is followed. The brain receives proof that action is possible and that goals can be met. This trust accumulates incrementally, creating a stable sense of competence. For example, waking at the same time every morning to exercise or study signals to the subconscious that challenges can be met reliably. Mastery over small, private rituals translates into assurance in larger public endeavors because the mind has already proven its ability to perform without observation or reward. The environment is crucial in reinforcing private routines. A space dedicated to action, whether for exercise, writing, learning, or reflection, minimizes distraction and signals focus to the mind. Simple adjustments, such as arranging tools for efficiency, removing unnecessary items, and establishing a defined area for practice, create conditions in which habits are easier to follow. Over time, the physical environment itself becomes a cue that strengthens discipline reducing reliance on motivation and external validation. Intentionality is the backbone of each routine. Every action within a habit should have a purpose. When performing a task, focus entirely on execution rather than the outcome or recognition. Mindfulness in repetition builds skill, reinforces precision, and develops an internal sense of control. The repetition of deliberate, purposeful acts trains the mind to expect results from consistent effort rather than approval, allowing confidence to emerge naturally from competence rather than circumstance. Incremental improvement fuels motivation. Small, measurable gains within a routine reinforce a sense of progress. Tracking these changes, whether through notes, journals, or personal metrics, provides tangible evidence of growth. Each recorded success, however minor, signals to the mind that mastery is achievable and sustainable. Over time, this accumulation of small victories solidifies confidence, creating a feedback loop where disciplined effort continuously validates capability internally. Private routines foster resilience. When life presents unexpected challenges, the person accustomed to structured, self-directed action navigates difficulty with composure. Habits of preparation, focus, and execution equip the mind to respond rather than react, to adjust without panic, and to persist despite discomfort. Confidence becomes a steady undercurrent, anchored in repeated demonstration of personal capability, rather than in transient conditions or external praise. Boundaries enhance the efficacy of routines. Protect the time and space required to maintain them. Avoid distractions, casual interruptions, and obligations that dilute attention. By prioritizing these private practices over performative activities, energy is preserved for actions that produce competence and growth. The discipline of protecting one's routine reinforces the mind's sense of autonomy, reducing dependence on others for structure or validation, and strengthening the internal locus of control. Reflection amplifies confidence. Each session within a private routine should be paired with consideration of performance. Identify strengths, notice areas for refinement, and adjust accordingly. This ongoing evaluation transforms repetition into mastery, turning habits into instruments of self-assurance. Reflection teaches that improvement comes from deliberate practice, not chance, and that competence is earned rather than assumed. The mind begins to rely on internal assessment rather than external judgment. Time and patience are essential. Mastery is a gradual process, and confidence built on routine requires sustained effort. Avoid measuring success through immediate outcomes or public recognition. Focus instead on daily engagement with the process itself. By committing to long-term repetition and incremental improvement, a stable foundation of self-belief emerges. The mind internalizes the principle that consistent action leads to competence, which then translates to confidence that is independent of circumstance. Habits should challenge the mind as well as the body. Intellectual routines, such as reading, problem-solving, journaling, or deliberate skill practice, stimulate mental agility and decision-making. By confronting challenges within the safety of private routines, the mind becomes accustomed to managing complexity and ambiguity. This internal practice reduces hesitation and doubt in public situations, as the confidence cultivated privately translates to clarity, assertiveness, and poise externally. Routine also instills a sense of ownership. When every day includes deliberate, self-directed action, the individual becomes the architect of their own progress. This ownership fosters autonomy and self-respect, both crucial components of confidence. Each completed routine reinforces the knowledge that success is a direct consequence of effort, not luck or external intervention. Self-trust, once developed, becomes a foundation that underpins decisions, risk-taking, and the pursuit of ambitious goals. Private routines cultivate mental discipline. The repetition of structured activity teaches focus, patience, and endurance. Mental stamina grows as tasks are completed despite distractions, fatigue, or external noise. Over time, the mind expects effort as a default, not as a reaction to necessity. This internalized discipline supports decision-making, reduces susceptibility to stress, and enhances the ability to act decisively. Confidence arises naturally from knowing that the mind is trained to handle challenges with competence and composure. The compounding effect of daily routines cannot be overstated. Skills, resilience, and self-trust develop gradually, layer upon layer. Each day of consistent action contributes to a body of work that is reflected in personal growth, efficiency, and capability. These private victories accumulate silently, yet their impact is profound. A steady, unwavering confidence emerges that does not require validation or reinforcement from others. Ritualizing success amplifies impact. Establish cues that mark the beginning and end of each routine. A pre-routine sequence, such as preparation of materials, breathing exercises, or setting a clear intention, signals the mind to engage fully. Post-routine reflection, such as journaling or recording observations, solidifies lessons learned and reinforces progress. These small, deliberate rituals heighten focus, enhance performance, and integrate confidence into the fabric of daily life. Mastery of private routines also supports adaptability. A person trained in self-discipline and habit execution develops flexibility in applying skills across contexts. Confidence becomes portable, allowing one to navigate unfamiliar environments or challenging tasks with assurance. The stability of internal competence provides a reference point, enabling calm, calculated decisions in the face of uncertainty. The results of consistent private routines manifest externally without effortful display. The demeanor, skill, and decisiveness exhibited in public are reflections of private preparation. Others recognize the presence of competence and confidence, often without understanding its source. This silent cultivation is more powerful than any overt demonstration or boast because it is rooted in genuine capability rather than performance for attention. Begin by selecting a few key routines to implement immediately. Commit to performing them daily, protecting the time and environment needed for completion. Track progress privately, reflect on improvements, and gradually expand the repertoire of habits. Over months and years, these routines will transform self-perception, skill level, and resilience, creating a foundation of confidence that is unshakable, self-sustaining, and undeniable. Strengthening confidence through mastery of private routines is the essence of self-reliance. It is the discipline to act without expectation, the perseverance to repeat tasks without reward, and the focus to cultivate competence. Each completed routine reinforces capability, builds trust in one's own judgment, and nurtures poise. The quiet accumulation of effort produces an internal assurance that radiates outward, manifesting in every decision, action, and interaction as the unmistakable presence of a confident, capable individual. Number 7. Treat silence as your competitive advantage. Silence is often underestimated in a world that equates noise with activity and attention with progress. Yet, the ability to remain quiet, to withhold commentary, and to observe before reacting is one of the most powerful tools a person can possess. Treating silence as a competitive advantage transforms perception, preserves energy, and amplifies effectiveness. When others are busy speaking, boasting, or explaining, those who remain composed and deliberate gain insight, maintain focus, and operate from a position of strength. Silence is not emptiness. It is strategic presence, a method of influence, and a reservoir of untapped power that can propel individuals far ahead of the competition. The first principle of leveraging silence is understanding its power. Speaking too soon or too frequently often reveals intentions, reduces flexibility, and invites judgment. Sharing plans prematurely exposes vulnerabilities and may dilute influence. By contrast, holding thoughts privately maintains control, leaving decisions and strategies in the hands of the individual rather than the opinions of others. Silence allows the mind to evaluate situations, anticipate responses, and adjust actions without distraction. Competitors may operate reactively, but those who harness silence act proactively. Energy preservation is another key benefit. Conversation, explanation, and persuasion consume mental and emotional resources. The constant need to justify, clarify, or perform in social contexts diverts focus from execution. Silence conserves energy for high-value activities that directly impact results. Each moment spent speaking, is an opportunity lost for preparation, skill building, or strategic planning. Those who understand this principle redirect their efforts inward, refining abilities and strengthening their position, while others expend energy on performative behavior. Observation is amplified in silence. Quiet individuals see more because they are not preoccupied with projecting opinions or defending ideas. This heightened awareness enables superior decision-making, strategic insight, and the anticipation of challenges before they manifest. In competitive settings, those who observe without revealing their thoughts often gain a clearer picture of dynamics, motivations, and opportunities. Silence becomes a lens through which advantage is magnified, allowing action to be precise, calculated, and effective. Patience and timing are strengthened by remaining silent. Impulsive communication can lead to mistakes, misinterpretation, or unnecessary confrontation. By withholding comment, one buys time to gather information, analyze outcomes, and act with intention. Timing becomes a tool of influence, as the eventual intervention carries greater weight due to its selectivity. Competitors who rush to voice opinions may be noticed temporarily, but those who wait with purpose command respect and attention when action is finally taken. Silence also amplifies credibility. People instinctively respect those who speak less and act more. When words are scarce but results are consistent, every statement carries significance. By speaking strategically and selectively, the individual signals thoughtfulness, mastery, and confidence. This scarcity effect transforms routine interactions into powerful moments of influence. Competitors who rely on verbal assertions may be heard, but they are not necessarily trusted. Those who combine silence with decisive action cultivate authority that is difficult to challenge. Internal focus is enhanced by silence. Without the need to constantly explain, defend, or perform, the mind is free to concentrate fully on meaningful work. This undistracted attention leads to greater skill development, efficiency, and creativity. Private focus allows for experimentation, reflection, and refinement without the pressures of observation or judgment. Over time, the internal advantage cultivated through silence surpasses the superficial gains achieved by constant verbal activity. Strategic use of silence also influences social dynamics. Humans are conditioned to fill gaps in conversation, often assuming knowledge or insight where none exists. By remaining silent, a person controls the narrative indirectly. Others may reveal intentions, weaknesses, or plans, providing valuable information. In negotiation, leadership, or competitive environments, silence can create tension, prompt disclosure, or establish dominance. People underestimate the communicative power of restraint, giving those who practice it a subtle but profound edge. Discipline is reinforced through silence. Choosing not to react impulsively, comment unnecessarily, or engage in every discussion requires self-control. This discipline spills over into other areas of life, enhancing consistency, reliability, and resilience. Individuals who master silence often demonstrate superior patience, foresight, and problem-solving abilities because they have trained themselves to act with purpose rather than react emotionally. Creativity and innovation are nurtured in silent reflection. Without constant external input or social distraction, the mind can explore ideas, test hypotheses, and refine strategies. Private contemplation allows complex problems to be approached with clarity and originality. Those who over-communicate risk diluting thought processes and prematurely exposing ideas that may be incomplete. Silence becomes a laboratory for intellectual development, where strategies are honed before implementation. Routine and structure further amplify the advantage of silence. Daily practices that reinforce focus, reflection, and deliberate action create an ecosystem in which quiet strength thrives. For example, a person might reserve time each morning for planning, meditation, or skill development without interruptions. This disciplined approach ensures that energy is invested in high-value activities rather than dispersed through social noise. Over time, these routines create a compounding effect, strengthening competence, and strategic positioning. Confidence emerges naturally from silence. When achievements are the result of careful private effort rather than public proclamation, the mind internalizes competence. the individual becomes self-reliant, resilient to criticism, and less vulnerable to external pressure. This confidence is authentic because it is rooted in capability, preparation, and consistent effort rather than in the fleeting validation of others. Public recognition becomes a byproduct, not a prerequisite of performance. Silence also sharpens decision-making. Without the noise of constant dialogue, the mind can evaluate options with clarity and precision. Consider a scenario in leadership or competition. One who speaks incessantly may act hastily, influenced by social cues, pressure, or desire for approval. The silent observer weighs alternatives, anticipates consequences, and selects actions aligned with long-term goals. Decisions made from this vantage point are deliberate, strategic, and more likely to succeed. In relationships, silence can enhance influence. By listening more than speaking, one gains insight into motives, emotions, and intentions. People naturally fill conversational gaps, revealing information they might otherwise withhold. This subtle advantage allows strategic responses that are informed, targeted, and effective. Influence is exerted not through forceful assertion, but through careful observation and thoughtful intervention. Resisting the urge to explain or justify preserves credibility. Over-explaining often diminishes perceived authority, suggesting uncertainty or insecurity. By speaking only when necessary and allowing actions to demonstrate intent, trust is built more robustly. Individuals who combine silence with results cultivate an aura of reliability and decisiveness that commands respect in competitive environments. Practice reinforces the habit. Begin by identifying areas where verbal activity is excessive or unnecessary. Commit to observing more and speaking less, particularly in discussions that do not require immediate input. Track the effects on focus, insight, and outcomes. Gradually expand this practice until restraint becomes instinctive. The accumulated benefit of disciplined silence compounds over time, providing a competitive edge that is difficult for others to match. Finally, treating silence as a competitive advantage requires a mindset shift. Noise and attention are often mistaken for power, but true influence stems from thoughtful action, observation, and strategic restraint. When combined with competence, discipline, and preparation, silence becomes a force multiplier. It allows the mind to act from a position of strength, enhances situational awareness, preserves energy for critical tasks, and amplifies the impact of every spoken word or decisive act. In a world where many rush to explain, justify, and broadcast, those who embrace silence move with precision, confidence, and authority. Their actions speak louder than words, their judgment is sharpened by observation, and their presence commands respect without effort. Silence, when mastered, is not a passive state but an active, deliberate strategy, a competitive advantage that transforms perception, strengthens execution, and magnifies influence. The quiet are often the most formidable because they have learned the art of power without proclamation, letting results, skill, and timing convey the story that words alone cannot. Number 8. Eliminate oversharing to sharpen direction. Oversharing is a subtle but powerful obstacle to clarity, focus, and progress. When too much is revealed about plans, intentions, or daily activities, energy is dissipated, attention is divided, and opportunities for strategic advantage are diminished. Sharing excessively invites scrutiny, creates distractions, and often leads to second-guessing. By eliminating oversharing, the mind gains freedom to concentrate on meaningful actions, sharpen goals, and maintain the momentum necessary for success. The fewer words devoted to broadcasting intentions, the more energy is available for deliberate, high-impact execution, making direction clear, powerful, and unstoppable. The first step in reducing oversharing is awareness. Notice how often thoughts, plans, or activities are communicated to others unnecessarily. Every time a goal is explained in detail, it becomes vulnerable to external influence, judgment, or unsolicited advice. Awareness helps identify patterns in behavior, moments when the urge to share arises from insecurity, the need for validation, or a desire to impress. Recognizing these triggers is the foundation for redirecting energy from explanation to execution. Focus is strengthened when communication is intentional. Speak only when it advances objectives or contributes meaningfully to collaboration. Each word should have a purpose, whether to convey necessary information, request support, or clarify a decision. Eliminating casual disclosure prevents distractions, reduces cognitive load, and reinforces the discipline to act rather than talk. Over time, precision in communication sharpens the mind, ensuring that energy is spent on action that produces measurable outcomes. Oversharing diminishes the impact of achievements. When intentions are revealed prematurely, success may be undervalued or overshadowed by expectations. People may anticipate results, critique plans, or even unconsciously attempt to influence outcomes. Keeping progress private allows actions to speak for themselves. Achievements emerge fully formed, undeniable, and respected because they are the result of effort, not the product of announced intentions. This strategic restraint enhances credibility and authority naturally. Energy preservation is another advantage of eliminating oversharing. Time and attention are limited resources. Every moment spent explaining, justifying, or detailing activities is time taken from doing the work itself. By conserving mental and emotional energy, the mind remains focused on high-leverage tasks that propel growth. The ability to channel full concentration into execution rather than explanation accelerates progress and cultivates resilience. Oversharing often exposes vulnerability. When plans or strategies are articulated in detail, weaknesses can be identified by others and used against you, intentionally or unintentionally. Silence protects intentions, leaving competitors, peers, or critics without material to analyze or exploit. By reducing exposure, the individual maintains a strategic edge, ensuring that effort is applied in ways that maximize results while minimizing interference. Discipline is reinforced by restraint. The habit of withholding unnecessary information strengthens self-control and focus. Each time the impulse to elaborate or boast is resisted, confidence in judgment and direction grows. Restraint teaches patience, fortifies decision-making, and reinforces the principle that influence and authority are derived from action, not exposition. Individuals learn to rely on competence rather than commentary, cultivating a mindset of self-reliance and purpose-driven behavior. Reflection becomes more effective when oversharing is eliminated. With fewer external voices influencing perception, the mind can assess progress objectively. Personal evaluation of achievements, challenges, and growth patterns is unhindered by outside opinion. This clarity allows for more accurate goal setting, better planning, and more precise adjustment of strategies. By preserving internal perspective, decision-making becomes sharper, and focus is aligned with genuine priorities rather than external noise. Boundaries are essential in maintaining this practice. Social environments often encourage disclosure, feedback, and discussion that dilute focus. Establishing clear boundaries, physical, temporal, and conversational, protects energy and reinforces discipline. Limiting casual updates or unnecessary explanations ensures that attention remains on tasks that yield tangible outcomes. Over time, these boundaries become habitual, naturally fostering a mindset oriented toward results rather than performance for others. Concentration intensifies when communication is purposeful. Eliminating the need to constantly explain frees cognitive resources for planning, execution, and strategic thinking. Tasks are approached with greater precision, creativity, and efficiency. The mind can allocate full bandwidth to solving problems, innovating solutions, and refining skills without the distraction of audience management or social signaling. This focused approach produces superior results, which in turn reinforce confidence and momentum. Strategic silence enhances influence. When words are limited, each statement carries weight. Others learn to listen more attentively, respect judgment, and value input. Oversharing diminishes this effect by flooding conversations with information, diluting authority, and fostering habitual disregard for commentary. The careful curation of communication ensures that when words are spoken, they are impactful, deliberate, and aligned with long-term objectives. Oversharing can distort self-perception. Repeatedly discussing intentions may create an illusion of progress, satisfying the ego, while actual advancement stagnates. By focusing on action rather than narration, the mind remains grounded in reality. Progress is measured by tangible results, not by the number of times goals are articulated. This alignment between effort and outcome strengthens self-trust and reinforces a disciplined approach to achievement. Privacy in practice encourages mastery. Whether developing a skill, working on a project, or pursuing personal growth, keeping effort private prevents distraction from unsolicited opinions or comparisons. The mind remains devoted to refining craft and executing effectively. Mastery emerges quietly, and when revealed, the results are compelling, credible, and respected. The act of working without public commentary becomes a training ground for resilience, focus, and excellence. Confidence grows naturally from the elimination of oversharing. By controlling what is revealed, individuals assert ownership of their narrative. Decisions, progress, and achievements are evaluated internally first, fostering independence and self-reliance. The mind internalizes a sense of authority because competence is demonstrated through action rather than explained through words. Over time, this self-directed confidence becomes unshakable, rooted in capability rather than perception. Time management improves when disclosure is minimized. Conversations about intentions or updates consume not only attention but also schedule. By reserving communication for essential interactions, more hours are available for productive work. The combination of focused effort and reduced external obligations accelerates progress, producing results that naturally communicating capability without necessitating explanation. Each accomplishment becomes a silent testament to efficiency and focus. Eliminating oversharing also enhances strategic flexibility. When plans are not revealed prematurely, adaptation is unhindered. The mind can respond to new information, obstacles, or opportunities without being constrained by previously disclosed intentions. This fluidity allows for superior decision-making, rapid course correction, and the ability to seize advantage, while competitors remain bound by their need to communicate or justify. The cumulative effect of this practice compounds over time. Each avoided conversation, each withheld explanation, and each preserved intention strengthens focus, sharpens strategy, and fortifies resilience. Energy previously spent on external management is redirected to creation, execution, and refinement. Over months and years, the individual develops a trajectory of accelerated growth, unimpeded by the distractions of unnecessary disclosure. Begin by identifying one area where information is often overshared. Commit to completing related tasks without announcement, commentary, or unsolicited explanation. Observe the impact on focus, efficiency, and outcome. Gradually extend this discipline to other aspects of life. With repeated practice, the mind becomes attuned to prioritizing action over exposition, ensuring that energy is devoted to what matters most, and direction is sharpened with clarity and precision. Eliminating oversharing cultivates independence. Decisions are informed by internal judgment, action is guided by deliberate intention, and outcomes are evaluated by personal standards rather than external opinion. This approach allows the individual to maintain momentum, navigate distractions, and achieve goals efficiently. Every task completed in this way strengthens the mind's alignment with purpose, producing results that are undeniable because they stem from focus, discipline, and mastery. By removing the habit of oversharing, the path forward becomes clear. Goals are pursued without distraction, energy is directed toward high-leverage activities, and the mind remains resilient to influence or interference. Actions gain meaning, results gain visibility, and progress becomes measurable. The quiet accumulation of effort replaces noise, creating a trajectory of achievement that is deliberate, controlled, and unstoppable. Sharpening direction through the elimination of oversharing is not just a strategy, it is a principle that transforms focus, preserves energy, and ensures that every action contributes directly to long-term success. Number 9. Channel energy into results, not announcements. Too often, energy is wasted on talking, explaining, or announcing intentions, rather than on producing tangible results. Words are seductive because they provide the illusion of action, but they rarely create change. The difference between those who succeed and those who only appear busy lies in the ability to channel energy into execution rather than exposition. Every moment spent crafting announcements, updates, or justifications is time and focus diverted from the work that actually moves objectives forward. Success is measured in outcomes, impact, and progress, not in visibility or recognition. By directing energy toward results, the mind and body operate with purpose, momentum, and precision. The first principle in this approach is clarity of priorities. Energy is finite, and every action should align with high-impact objectives. Identify what truly matters and commit to activities that produce measurable outcomes. This requires discipline to distinguish between urgent but low-value tasks and actions that meaningfully advance goals. Each effort should be purposeful, directed, and assessed based on tangible results rather than appearance. By focusing attention on what matters, the mind channels energy into productivity instead of performative displays. Execution demands consistency. Sporadic bursts of activity followed by periods of explanation create the illusion of productivity without generating real progress. Daily, deliberate effort builds momentum and compounds over time. Whether it's mastering a skill, completing a project, or advancing personal growth, steady, concentrated work ensures that energy is applied to creation rather than communication. Consistent execution establishes a rhythm that fosters confidence, skill, and reliability. The temptation to announce intentions often stems from a need for validation or reassurance. Words temporarily satisfy the ego, but they do not produce results. By recognizing this psychological trap, the mind can redirect focus toward productive action. Instead of describing plans or goals, invest that energy into the steps that realize them. Each completed task reinforces self-trust, diminishes reliance on external approval, and builds a track record of accomplishment that speaks louder than any announcement ever could. Measurement is crucial. Channeling energy into results requires accountability. Establish metrics that reflect progress, quality, and impact. Quantifiable measures transform effort into evidence, allowing performance to be evaluated without commentary or social recognition. Tracking milestones, whether through journals, logs, or performance indicators, ensures that the energy invested is producing outcomes. Over time, the accumulation of measurable results replaces the perceived need for announcements. Focus intensifies when the urge to publicize action is resisted. Multitasking between work and communication fractures attention, reduces efficiency, and increases the likelihood of errors. By dedicating undivided focus to execution, the mind operates at peak capacity. Complex tasks are completed with precision, creativity flourishes, and solutions emerge more rapidly. The energy conserved from silence and private concentration magnifies impact, producing superior results that naturally demonstrate competence. Patience reinforces this principle. Results often take time to manifest, and immediate recognition is not guaranteed. Announcing intentions prematurely may invite critique or pressure before outcomes are achieved. By resisting the urge to share progress, the individual maintains control, protects strategy, and cultivates endurance. The discipline of waiting for results cultivates resilience, self-reliance, and the capacity to operate independently of external expectations. Prioritizing action over communication also enhances credibility. People instinctively respect those whose work produces visible, undeniable outcomes. Announcements may create momentary attention, but consistent results establish long-term authority. By channeling energy into execution, achievements accumulate quietly, creating a reputation for competence and reliability that is difficult to dispute. Every completed task serves as a testament to ability, discipline. Energy invested in results develops mastery. Repetition, refinement, and dedicated practice strengthens skill and confidence. Whether developing technical abilities, creative output, or strategic insight, focused effort enhances competence. Private work allows experimentation, reflection, and improvement without distraction or social pressure. This mastery compounds over time, producing results that demonstrate capability and authority without the need for explanation. Strategic planning maximizes the efficiency of energy directed toward results. Mapping the sequence of actions, identifying dependencies, and prioritizing high-leverage tasks ensures that effort produces the greatest return. Planning reduces wasted motion and unnecessary repetition. By acting with foresight, energy is applied effectively, creating outcomes that are disproportionate to the effort invested. This intentionality magnifies impact and further reduces reliance on announcements to convey progress. Resilience is strengthened through result-focused action. Challenges, setbacks, and obstacles are inevitable, but when energy is invested in problem-solving rather than explanation, progress continues despite adversity. Action becomes the primary feedback loop, providing data and learning opportunities. Each challenge overcome reinforces confidence, skill, and determination, creating a self-sustaining cycle of competence that is independent of approval or recognition. Discipline emerges naturally from focusing on results. The mind learns to resist distraction, temptation, and the desire to perform publicly. By prioritizing execution, habits of preparation, focus, and persistence are reinforced. Over time, discipline becomes instinctive, allowing the individual to maintain trajectory and momentum even under pressure. The habit of channeling energy toward meaningful work cultivates a mindset oriented toward accomplishment rather than perception. Reflection enhances effectiveness. Evaluate completed tasks, assess outcomes, and identify areas for improvement. Reflection ensures that energy invested in action produces tangible benefits and informs future effort. By consistently reviewing performance, the mind develops precision, foresight, and adaptability. Reflection paired with disciplined execution accelerates growth and ensures that each unit of effort contributes maximally to meaningful results. Eliminating distractions is vital. Announcements, updates, and social commentary fragment attention and dilute energy. Create focused environments where effort is uninterrupted and purposeful. Remove triggers that encourage the mind to perform for others rather than work for progress. By controlling surroundings and limiting unnecessary communication, energy flows entirely toward tasks that generate results, reinforcing the principle that action outweighs announcement. Internal motivation replaces external approval. By valuing results over recognition, the individual becomes self-reliant and resilient. Progress is measured against personal standards rather than audience response. Satisfaction emerges from completion, skill, and impact, not from commentary or applause. This mindset strengthens autonomy, encourages initiative, and ensures that energy remains directed toward action rather than performance. Results communicate more effectively than announcements. A completed project, a mastered skill, or a tangible achievement conveys competence unequivocally. By focusing on execution, visibility becomes a natural byproduct rather than the objective. Others observe, recognize, and respect accomplishments without intervention. Energy spent on production yields far greater influence than energy spent on narration, reinforcing the principle that action is the ultimate language of success. Start by identifying areas where energy is currently spent on announcement rather than execution. Commit to one task where focus is entirely on results. Track progress privately, observe efficiency, and assess impact. Gradually extend this approach to larger projects, integrating planning, reflection, and disciplined effort. Over time, the habit of channeling energy toward outcomes rather than commentary becomes instinctive, producing momentum, mastery, and credibility that is visible without exposition. Channeling energy into results creates a life defined by accomplishment rather than noise. Every action becomes purposeful, every effort measurable, and every outcome a testament to discipline and focus. The mind learns to operate independently of validation, external pressure, or distraction. Momentum builds, skills deepen, and progress compounds. Announcements fade in importance, replaced by a continuous stream of tangible achievements that speak for themselves. By committing to result-focused energy, the individual transforms potential into impact. Time, attention, and effort are applied to creation, growth, and improvement. Every completed task reinforces competence, every milestone strengthens self-trust, and every achievement builds credibility. The practice of prioritizing action over announcement cultivates mastery, resilience, and authority, producing outcomes that are undeniable, respected, and enduring. Number 10. Win publicly by working relentlessly private. Success that is visible to the world is rarely the result of sudden luck or public display. True achievement is forged in solitude, in hours of focused labor, and in relentless private effort that others rarely witness. The paradox is simple. Those who work quietly, consistently, and with discipline often experience the most dramatic public victories. Winning publicly is not about broadcasting intentions or seeking approval. It is about creating results so undeniable that recognition becomes inevitable. Every public success is the tip of an iceberg, formed by invisible hours of preparation, repetition, and dedication, demonstrating that private work is the ultimate multiplier of influence and accomplishment. The foundation of this principle lies in understanding the value of unseen effort. Public attention is seductive, offering validation and immediate reward. Sharing progress, announcing goals, or performing for recognition creates a short-term sense of achievement, but it rarely produces substantive results. Real progress requires redirecting that energy toward creation, skill development, and consistent execution in private. By focusing on action rather than visibility, the mind accumulates competence and mastery, which naturally translates into results that speak louder than words. Consistency in private work is crucial. Daily effort, repeated over months and years, compounds into significant skill, expertise, and output. Small actions that are executed meticulously accumulate to produce extraordinary outcomes. Each session of focused practice strengthens the mind, reinforces discipline, and builds internal standards that do not rely on external approval. Private routines, no matter how mundane they appear in the moment, are the engines that drive long-term success, preparing individuals to perform flawlessly when opportunity demands public visibility. Silence amplifies effectiveness. When effort is performed without commentary, judgment, or audience, focus is uninterrupted and mental energy is preserved. Each distraction avoided increases efficiency, clarity, and quality of output. While others may spend time explaining, performing, or justifying, the person working privately converts time and attention directly into results. This quiet accumulation of skill and accomplishment ensures that when the moment for public demonstration arrives, performance is impeccable, deliberate, and undeniable. Preparation in private builds confidence. Competence that emerges from unseen work produces a foundation of self-trust. The mind is reassured by repeated proof of capability, rather than relying on praise or affirmation from others. This internalized assurance allows action to be decisive, calm, and strategic. Public victories become extensions of mastery cultivated in private, with every movement, decision, and result reflecting the discipline and depth preparation that went unseen. The principle of delayed recognition is essential. Public acknowledgement should be considered the natural outcome of private excellence, not the goal of effort. By orienting focus toward internal standards and intrinsic achievement, individuals reduce the temptation to seek immediate validation. Results accumulate silently until the magnitude of work becomes evident, producing a sense of inevitability and success. This approach transforms recognition into a reflection of competence rather than a requirement for motivation. Strategic work in private allows for innovation and experimentation. Without the pressure of observation or expectation, the mind is free to test ideas, refine methods, and iterate on approaches. Mistakes can be addressed without scrutiny, and breakthroughs can be developed without interference. This freedom fosters creativity, strategic thinking, and resilience, all of which amplify the impact of public achievements. When revealed, results are polished, effective, and powerful because the underlying process was deliberate, thorough, and shielded from distraction. Resilience is reinforced through relentless private effort. Challenges, obstacles, and setbacks are inevitable, but a foundation of disciplined preparation equips the mind to respond effectively. Repetition in solitudes strengthens patience, perseverance, and problem-solving skills, Each difficulty encountered and overcome privately compounds internal strength, allowing public performance to appear effortless. Audiences rarely see the struggle, but they witness the mastery, decisiveness, and results that emerge as a consequence of consistent, unseen work. Boundaries enhance the power of private effort. Protecting time, focus, and environment ensures that energy is not diverted to performative behavior or social expectation. Avoiding unnecessary explanation, discussion, or distraction preserves attention for tasks that yield real progress. By safeguarding the space for concentrated work, the mind becomes a reservoir of capability, preparation, and insight, ready to produce results when opportunity arises. Private work also sharpens strategic advantage. Others may reveal intentions, goals, or processes prematurely, inviting interference or competition. By keeping actions discreet, one maintains flexibility, control, and surprise. Competitors cannot anticipate or counter strategies they do not observe. The ability to act without external influence ensures that public outcomes reflect skill and execution, rather than negotiation or compromise. This discretion turns private labor into a shield and a sword, protecting progress and amplifying impact. The relationship between effort and results strengthens over time. Private labor creates a feedback loop of skill acquisition, refinement, and application. Each successful iteration reinforces confidence, capability, and resilience, while each mistake becomes a lesson that strengthens the foundation. Public recognition then becomes a natural extension of this private cycle, an outcome of consistent, deliberate work that has already proven its value. Discipline in private effort cultivates mental toughness. The mind becomes accustomed to sustained focus, delayed gratification, and rigorous execution. Challenges are met with preparation rather than improvisation, and progress is earned rather than assumed. Mental endurance cultivated in private translates into composure, decisiveness, and effectiveness in public settings, creating a sense of authority that commands respect without effortful display. Reflection and refinement are integral to private work. Assessing performance, identifying weaknesses, and iterating on strategies enhance effectiveness and produce measurable improvement. Private evaluation ensures that public performance is deliberate, informed, and optimized. Over time, these cycles of action, assessment, and adjustment compound, producing mastery that is both deep and versatile. The accumulation of small victories matters. Each private effort, no matter how minor it seems, contributes to a larger trajectory of competence. Skills, habits, and insights develop incrementally until they form a reservoir of capability that can be drawn upon in moments of public challenge. The visible outcome is the result of unseen labor, a testament to the power of relentless private effort. Momentum is created through repetition. The discipline of daily action develops speed, precision, and intuition. Over time, the mind anticipates challenges, solutions become more natural, and performance efficiency increases. Public success is amplified because the individual has already internalized the work necessary for mastery. The audience sees only the peak, unaware of the foundation that supports. Accountability is internalized in private effort. By tracking progress, setting benchmarks, and measuring growth without external observation, the individual becomes self-reliant. Motivation is anchored in personal standards, not in approval, feedback, or recognition. This independence strengthens resilience and ensures that work continues regardless of external conditions, producing results that are reliable, consistent, and impactful. Start by establishing routines that prioritize private effort over external validation. Dedicate specific blocks of time to focused work, skill development, and strategy refinement. Protect these sessions from distraction and interruption. Gradually layer complexity, track progress, and refine processes. Over months and years, this consistent private labor creates the conditions for public victories that are inevitable, undeniable, and respected. Winning publicly by working relentlessly privately is the essence of strategic achievement. It is the discipline to act without performance, the persistence to repeat tasks without immediate recognition, and the focus to refine skill quietly. Every accomplishment that is eventually visible is rooted in unseen labor, intentional effort, and uncompromising dedication. By mastering private effort, results naturally follow. Recognition becomes a consequence rather than a goal, and the trajectory of success is both powerful and sustainable. The practice transforms life. Private work produces competence, confidence, and mastery that radiate externally. Public achievements become evidence of preparation rather than the source of validation. Energy is directed toward creation, problem-solving, and improvement, not performance. The quiet accumulation of relentless effort compounds into extraordinary results, proving that the most profound victories are those cultivated in private, demonstrated in public, and respected universally for their undeniable excellence.